Welcome back to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole. This week we are doing a historical fiction, but something in particular. Laura, tell us about it.
We are doing books set in the Victorian era. So yes, so if you are a fan of historical fiction in general or of Victoria, the Victorian era, then this will be a good list for you to check out. And as usual, we use that as our jumping off point, but we move through a couple different genres. So there's ones that are kind of more historical fantasy, and then there's ones that are straight historical fiction. And then we have one that is contemporary, like it was written during the Victorian era. So there's that, a classic.
When was the Victorian era?
When Queen Victoria was the queen.
Wasn't it like, it's like 1800s to like 1905 or something, rough.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a more specific
Google it.
Definition. It's the age of Victoria.
Sure. Whenever she was around. But it does refer to like a specific time period. So it's not just like old-timey England. We are being specific today-ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay.
All right, let's get started then. Am I starting it? Yes, I am. Okay.
You are.
The first is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. Okay, moving between Essex and London, myth and modernity. Cora Seaborn's spirited search for the Essex Serpent, that's a lot of S's in there, encourages all around her to test their allegiance to faith or reason in an age of rapid scientific advancement. At the same time, the novel explores the boundaries of love and friendship and the allegiances that we have to one another. The depth of feeling that the inhabitants of Aldwinter share are matched by their city counterparts as they strive to find the courage to express and understand their deepest desires and strongest fears. Essex
sounds a little vague, that description. As I recall, I read more about it because I'd added this one originally. Like a literal Essex serpent. It's it's a little bit like, like the hunt for Loch Ness or whatever.
Oh, that makes more sense. Why
like
they said mythology. Yeah.
A cryptid?
Cryptid. Yeah. Mothman.
I got there. There you go. Yes. So that's part of that story that they're trying to discover. Yeah.
That's cool.
Serpent. I gotta say, that's not the best description I ever pulled for something.
Well, sometimes we just read what we're given.
Yeah.
We should really, at the end of our shows, try and describe things the way that a publisher was and just see really how hard it is. Easy to judge when you're not doing it every day.
That's very true. But I mean, it is very well reviewed, award-winning, and Sarah Waters, who is, if you're a historical fiction reader, you've probably read some Sarah Waters, and she blurbed it. So there's a recommendation for you.
It does sound cool. I have to say, hunting down mythical creatures is always very interesting.
Okay, our next one is actually a series. It's book one in a series, and it's funny. Well, like it's just supposed to be a funny one, but it's also funny because like one of the things Nicole and I have mentioned before is this sort of subgenre of mysteries where it's just like some woman who is like, I'm going to solve mysteries now. And even though they're like a housewife or I don't know, whatever it is, they're just like, I'm going to solve mysteries. And then they just solve mysteries. And this is one of those sort of books. It's called Death Below Stairs by the author Jennifer Ashley. And it's book one in the Cat Holloway mystery. Okay, Victorian class lines are crossed when cook Cat Holloway is drawn into a murder that reaches all the way to the throne. Highly sought after young cook Cat. Cat sounds so modern for Victorian books in the Victorian, but whatever.
It's probably Catherine.
Against the point. Yes, it is probably Catherine. Okay. Cat Holloway takes a position in a Mayfair mansion and soon finds herself immersed in the odd household of Lord Rankin. Kat is unbothered by the family's eccentricities as long as they stay away from her kitchen, but trouble finds its way below stairs when her young Irish assistant is murdered.
Terrible.
Intent on discovering who killed the helpless kitchen maid, Kat turns to the ever-capable Daniel McAdam, who is certainly much more than the charming delivery man he pretends to be.
Okay.
Along with the assistance of Lord Rankin's unconventional sister-in-law and a mathematical genius, Kat and Daniel discover that the household murder was the bare tip of a plot rife with danger and treason, one that's a threat to Queen Victoria herself.
Wow. Is this the one we were talking about these beforehand? Is this the one that was similar to another one we've wrecked? Because it sounds very familiar. Like that it's a lady of high class and she finds that her maid or something was murdered.
Yes, yes. It's except for this one is not a high class lady, but
Yeah.
yes, very similar, very similar. These women who are just like, guess I'm a detective now.
They have all the time in the day and they just make
Somehow
it happen.
they make it happen. I mean, obviously they have all the smarts required, certainly.
Yeah.
That's not a surprise. It is a bit of a surprise in these sort of historical fiction books that they somehow have the opportunity to go around and gather clues and solve the mystery. But that's why it's fiction mostly.
I do love though, like these kinds of that kind of story in an older time period makes a lot more sense for like intrigue, I guess, because you have to like they have to follow certain like social
Interesting.
protocols while also doing mysteries. So you're like, how are they gonna hide what they're doing? I like that.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
Okay.
then you'll like the next one.
Yay! All right. The next one is here we go. Oh, and I love the cover of this
It's
one.
very nice cover.
Yeah, The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton, which is part of the series Dangerous Damsels. This looks like it'll be a good description. Here we go. A prim and proper lady thief must save her aunt from a crazed pirate and his dangerously charming henchman in this fantastical historical romance. Cecilia Bassingwaite is the ideal Victorian lady. She's also a thief.
She's
Oh,
got contains multitudes.
yeah, she is an enigma. Like the other members of the Wisteria Society crime sorority, she flies around England drinking tea, blackmailing friends, and acquiring treasure by interesting means. Sure, I love that. Sure, she has drank, no, not drank. Sure, she has a dark and traumatic past and an overbearing aunt, but all things considered, it's a pleasant existence until the men show up. Ned Lightbourne is a son. Oh, I can't speak. Here we go. Ned Lightbourne is a sometimes assassin who is smitten with Cecilia from the moment they meet. Unfortunately, that happens to be while he's under direct orders to kill her. His,
Awkward.
yeah, that's bad timing. His employer, Captain Morvath, who possesses a Gothic abbey bristling with cannons and an unbridled hate for the world, intends to rid England of all its presumptuous women, starting with the Wisteria Society.
He's like a modern. He's modern. He's like the historical incel.
Yeah, there you go. He's just like, no thanks. Ned has plans of his own, though. Both men have made one grave mistake: never underestimate a woman. When Morvath imperils the Wisteria Society, Cecilia is forced to team up with her handsome would-be assassin to save the women who raised her, hopefully proving once and for all that she's as much of a scoundrel as the rest of them. That sounds good. She's got something to prove. He's defying orders, trying to save people. Wow.
I do kind of wonder though, like, how do you end up working for someone with that belief? You know, I mean, maybe you just start out as a regular assassin. You don't realize how crazy your boss is, and then all of a sudden they're talking about murdering all women. You're like, oh, I'm in too deep.
Yeah, or maybe like your company got acquired by someone
Yeah,
new.
got bought out. You never know. You
Yeah.
never. Your crime boss just got bought out.
Yeah, these assassins, you own them now. They're yours.
I'm sure in the book it all makes much more sense.
Oh yeah, I mean,
But yeah, sounds like fun. Sounds like sounds kind of similar to the Parasol Protectorate. Well, there's quite a few of these like historical fiction of like gangs of ladies
Yeah.
basically getting up to stuff,
Doing crimes.
doing crimes. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, our next one, sharp turn in content.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is called The Shape of Darkness.
Mm.
It's by Laura Purcell. And I have recced one of her books before. I'll include the title. I think it was maybe it was last Halloween, about like the creepy kind of enchanted decorative dolls. Anyway, it was that one. So I'll link to it. But so this book is called The Shape of Darkness. As the age of the photograph dawns in Victorian Bath, silhouette artist Agnes is struggling to keep her business afloat. Still recovering from a serious illness herself, making enough money to support her elderly mother and her orphaned nephew Cedric has never been easy. But then one of her clients is murdered shortly after sitting for Agnes, and then another and another. Why is the killer seemingly targeting her business?
Huh.
Rude. Desperately seeking an answer. Agnes approaches Pearl, a child spirit medium lodging in Bath with her older half-sister and her ailing father, hoping that if Pearl can make contact with those who died, they might reveal who killed them. But Agnes and Pearl quickly discover that instead they may have opened the door to something they can never put back.
Oh no.
Yes. A beguiling new tale from the queen of Gothic fiction, Laura Purcell. So, yeah, that description doesn't sound particularly creepy, but having read another book by this author, I'm going to guess it is creepy.
Love it.
A creepy Gothic.
Yeah, it definitely has the potential based on that description, but like they're clearly not giving the stuff away. They're like, we know that you know who she is. Come read.
Come read.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds good.
It does, doesn't it?
And you like creepy books, and we're coming up to
I
spooky
do.
season. It's
I
perfect
know.
timing.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
Okay, our next one is The Exiles by Christina Baker Klein. Sounds like she also wrote a book called Orphan Train.
Which was huge.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, very popular book. So if you read historical fiction, you may well have read that. So this is her new one.
Okay, here we go. Seduced by her employer's son. Oh, I was gonna read that like the employer's son was named Evangeline. I get it. Seduced by her employer's son, Evangeline, a young, naive governess in early 19th century London, is discharged when her pregnancy is discovered and sent to the notorious Newgate prison. That's a bad prison.
Right, because it's her fault she got pregnant. No one else
Absolutely.
was involved.
No, no, no. After months in the fetid, yep, overcrowded jail, she learns that she is sentenced to the land beyond the seas, Van Diemen's Land, a penal colony in Australia. Though uncertain of what awaits, Evangeline knows one thing: the child she carries will be born in the months-long voyage to this distant land. That's scary.
That is scary.
During the journey on a repurposed slave ship, the Medea, Evangeline strikes up a friendship with Hazel, a girl little older than her former pupils who was sentenced to 7 years transport for stealing a silver spoon. Canny, where Evangeline is guileless, Hazel, a skilled midwife and herbalist, is soon offering home remedies to both prisoners and sailors oh, a skilled midwife and herbalist is soon offering home remedies to both prisoners and sailors in return for a variety of favors. I made it through it. Though Australia has been home to Aboriginal people for more than 50,000 years, the British government in the 1940s considered its fledgling I can't want to say economy. Its fledgling colony uninhabited and unsettled, and views the natives as an unpleasant nuisance. By the time the Medea arrives, many of them have been forcibly relocated, their land seized by white colonists. One of these relocated people is Mathena, the orphan daughter of the chief of the Lorraine, I think it's Lorraine tribe, who has been adopted by the new governor of Van Diemen's Land. In this gorgeous novel, Christine Baker Klein brilliantly recreates the beginnings of a new society in a beautiful and challenging land, telling the story of Australia from a fresh perspective through the experiences of Evangeline, Hazel, and Mathena. It sounds pretty good.
It does, doesn't it? It
Yeah,
sounds very sweeping.
yeah, and it doesn't
Yeah,
ignore like the bad parts of what was happening with England.
exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. I like the last sentence. Read that part of the description. It's quite
Okay,
good.
okay, here we go. Told in exquisite detail and incisive prose, The Exiles is a story of grace born from hardship, the unbreakable bonds of female friendships, and the unfettering of legacy. Female friendships, that's your fave.
I know, that's why I wanted you to read that part. The unfettering of legacy, like, okay, whatever, I can take or leave that part. But the unbreakable bonds of female friendship, I'm
Friendship.
into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yes,
A very
it
female
really
focused
does.
story.
Mhm.
All of these are.
Yeah. Well, what can I say?
Yeah,
To be honest, I didn't do that on purpose. I think there's not, you know what? There's not as many that are male focused when I was looking
very
at Victorian books.
romanticized.
It is extremely romanticized. And so there doesn't tend to be as many books featuring, they're focused on men. Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
What does that say? Not for
What
us
does
to
that
determine.
say? Not right now. Maybe another
We'll
time.
write a paper about it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Our next one is called A Shadow Bright and Burning. It is book one in the Kingdom on Fire series by Jessica Cluess. Starts with a real exciting line. Henrietta Howell can burst into flames.
Wow. Let's see where she goes with that.
Forced to reveal her power to save a friend, she's shocked when instead of being executed, she's invited to train as one of Her Majesty's royal sorcerers. Thrust into the glamour of Victorian London. Okay, I have to say that's not a sentence I've heard many times before. The glamour of Victorian London.
No.
Was it glamorous?
Maybe as
Okay.
a wizard?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is a historical fantasy. So maybe this is a glamorous version. Henrietta is declared the chosen one, the girl who will defeat the ancients, bloodthirsty demons terrorizing humanity. She also meets her fellow sorcerer trainees, handsome young men eager to test her power and her heart. One
Aw.
will challenge her, one will fight for her, one will betray her. But Henrietta Howell is not the chosen one. As she plays a dangerous game of deception, she discovers that the sorcerers have their own secrets to protect. With battle looming, what does it mean to not be the one? And how much will she risk to save the city and the one she loves? A spellbinding fantasy.
Wow. Now that one sounds up my
It
alley.
does. It does.
Wow. I love, I mean, we've already talked about this. It's so nice when you can put a fantasy world in something that already exists because it's like you've got so much to build with already. Ah,
Yep.
ah, and romance. Wow.
Romance, magic, monsters.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yes. And that, I'm pretty sure that is a trilogy, and I think it is complete, I feel
Okay,
like,
that's
as
good.
well. Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't look too old
Mhm.
either. All right, so now we're going to talk about our recs for the week. You can see we both just kind of shifted a little bit because we had to we had to stop filming for a second. Now we're moved around.
Shifted. You shifted a little bit. I moved locations, put my hair back because I moved a bunch of stuff and got warm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
busy days. A
we're
busy
back though.
day. Yeah. But yeah, okay, so Victorian recommendations. Here we go. I'll start with mine. So first things first, last time we did one, I started accidentally reading That Inevitable Victorian Thing by E.K. Johnston. So if you're interested, go check that one out. But my rec for the day is it's called A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, and I'm sure you all know I've recommended Libba Bray so many times. But it's because she keeps writing books that are like in different genres because and I love that because she's very capable at doing them all.
Yeah,
So she did Beauty Queens and she all what was the other one I read by her?
you wrecked. Oh, the Mad Cow one.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
It won an award. Well,
Yeah,
I'll link to it in the show
Going
notes.
Bovine.
There you go.
Got it. Yeah, so those are really good. So this one is again different. Beauty Queens was like Lord of the Flies, but it was Beauty Queens on an island. Going Bovine was a teenager who had mad cow's disease, and you watch him deal with that. And then this one is a Victorian kind of fantasy where the main character's name is Gemma, or Gemma. I think it's Gemma. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I would say Gemma. Gemma
Yeah.
sounds too close to gummy. It's not attractive.
Yeah, yeah. So it's about
Sorry
her.
to anyone named Gemma.
My apologies. But yeah, she's so she's a like a 16-year-old girl, and she lives in India with her mother and father, and her brother is off in England going to become a gentleman. And while she's in India, she's out shopping with her mom, and they're having a good time, but they're also being really snarky. It's a very classic like kid hates their mom while they're a teenager, but they don't really hate their mom. They're just acting out, which is written very believably, in my opinion. And her mom sees somebody at the market, and they say Cersei's coming, and then or Cersei's here or something along those lines, and then the mom's like freaked out and is like, Gemma, I gotta go, see you back at the house. And then Gemma's like, I hope I never see you again. And then
She never sees her again.
yeah, and she realizes, well, she has a vision of her mother. This is like the first chapter, so I'm not giving much away, but she sees her mother kind of stab herself to get away from this like mythical, dark, disgusting cloud of a being. So, trigger warning for that if you're reading it. It's not graphic, it's not anything bad, but like it devours somebody, and then she does that. So, just a heads up. And she sees this in her vision and obviously freaks out, and then realizes that it came true afterwards. So then we follow her journey as she goes to England to become a proper young lady. And she also has to deal with these new powers that she's kind of getting. It has a little bit of a like little budding romance, which is very sweet. And it's a very I don't want to say, well, I think the right word is atmospheric. Like it feels just very, it's in a boarding school. Like it's got those like young adult vibes of like a gothic-y kind of Victorian era book, which is pretty cool. So it takes place in the Victorian period, but she's got visions. So very
Right.
fantasy. Oh, and it's a trilogy. So if you like it, they get thicker as you go. Yeah, it's very good.
Okay. And certainly like it's an older book now, but
Yeah.
like at the time it was hugely popular, very, very well enjoyed by lots of readers. Mhm. Okay, mine is some serious old school. Here's the sorry truth that I was like, I'm gonna read one of these Victorian books, and then I didn't. And I was like, I don't have a personal recommendation from the Victorians. And then I was like, wait a second. Yes, I do. I read a bunch of books that were actually like, actually written by Victorians.
Ooh.
So I dug way deep into my academic background because before being a librarian, I was, like a nerd of a different, of a similar but slightly different flavor. And I did a master's in English. And one of the courses I took was on Victorian literature. So I'm sharing my favorite book from that course, one that is part of the canon, certainly. This is not a controversial pick, but just something that we haven't necessarily hit on this author before.
Definitely not a modern one.
No, this is not a modern one or a remix or anything like that. The book is called The Return of the Native. It's by Thomas Hardy. Obviously, big deal name. Here's the description. It's tempestuous. Eustacia Vi. What a name, right?
Wow.
Eustacia Vi. I've got it. It's better. It's better than Henrietta Howell or whatever the name. Okay, so Eustacia Vi passes her days dreaming of passionate love and the escape it may bring from the small community of Egdon Heath. Hearing that Clem Yeobright is to return from Paris, she sets her heart on marrying him. believing that through him she can leave rural life and find fulfillment elsewhere. But she is to be disappointed, for Clem has dreams of his own, and they have little in common with Eustace's. Eustace is the boys' version. Eustace is the boys' vein. Okay, their unhappy marriage causes havoc in the lives of those close to them. In particular, Damon Wildeve, Stacey's former lover, Clem's mother, and his cousin Thomason. The Return of the Native illustrates the tragic potential of romantic illusion and how its protagonists fail to recognize their opportunities to control their own destinies. Ooh. It's very much that, like, seeing fate in your life and how can you get past it, and this woman really wanting to move past where she is, and just all these the opportunities she sees to move out, they don't work. Yeah. And I'm gonna, if you read it and then you're like, oh boy, I really enjoyed that, I'd like to read some scholarship, I'm happy to report that one of my essays that I wrote
was about it
on this book about it is available online.
Published? Look at you.
Sort of. I don't know. The professor of that class has had a website where they publish pieces on the Victorians, so you can read. What is it called? It's something like Change and Chance. It's anyway, themes of change and chance in Yay. Thomas Hardy's The Return of the Native by Laura Prinzler. There you go. It's like my third page of Google results. All of a sudden you're like, why is there a bunch of Victorian scholarship happening here?
That's why.
Anyway, it honestly is. It doesn't sound that exciting, but it
did actually. It sounded kind of like dramatic.
And like passion and trying to get out of the circumstances you're in, and then keep getting knocked down, and
very universal.
Yeah, and I know he's just an old white dude, but every once in a while those old white dudes hit one out of the park. So
yeah,
it's a good one.
So go check that one out, and go check out all of them on this Thou Art episode. Yes. And I think that's all we have for today, unless you have anything else you wanted to add.
No, that is everything I have to say about Victorian literature.
Yay! Okay, then as you all know, please like, comment, subscribe to all that jazz on YouTube. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review, please, on our podcasts if you can, because it helps people find us. And if you missed a title or an author, check us out, tbplofftheshelf.com, and feel free to follow us on Goodreads.
Yes, I have one more quick note.
Yeah.
We're making an addition to our types of themes. We're going to start doing one a month that is for juvenile readers. So could be picture books, could be, chapter books for kids. We will cover all sorts of different stuff on different topics. So if you have young people in your life who like to read, then start looking out for those. Yeah.
First week of the month is our goal, hopefully.
Yes. Beginning in October.
Yes, not this month. We've already missed it. All right, then we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.